Media, specifically video-based media, is a pacifier for grown-ups. Agree or disagree? Pacifier, a rubber or plastic nipple for a baby to suck on. Or something that makes people calm when they are angry or upset. Pretty much anything can act as a pacifier as long as it's used to calm you. This could be food, exercise, drugs, alcohol, shopping, etc., so on and so forth. You get the picture. But I think one thing that flies underneath the radar is videos. And by this I mean TV, film, TikTok, Reels, YouTube videos. So let's examine that, shall we? It's no secret that we've gone from a text-based society to a video-based society. A really obvious example of this is how people receive their news. So people used to actually read newspapers, like tangible, physical paper newspapers. And now a lot of times people just get their information off of social media. Problematic, but that's a conversation for another video. Or they watch it on TV. But before there was TikTok and Reels, there was film and television. So in 1927, the electric television was invented, but I think our brain chemistry as a society wasn't really altered until the 1950s with the introduction of the TV remote. So in 1950, something called the Zenith Lazy Bones remote was invented, and it was a wire that connected from the TV to the remote. A user could now change the channel without ever having to get up, and thus channel surfing was born, which I think is the older auntie to scrolling culture. And by 1955, half of American households owned TV sets, and we were off. Since then, screen time has only increased. But let's contextualize things for a little bit. How much has video really permeated our existence? I'll tell you. I'm just gonna read off my computer right here for a second. Couple fast facts for you. How many people actually are active on these platforms? So TikTok has 1 billion active users, watchers per month. YouTube, 2.2 billion per month. Billion with a B. Buh. Netflix, in their third quarter of 2023, reported 247.2 million active users. So it's a lot of people, is what I'm getting at. Another fast fact for you, roughly 3 hours per day is spent watching TV for people over the age of 15. Okay. Now the reason why we watch all these videos can largely be boiled down to one thing: entertainment. But what exactly is the purpose of entertainment here? Does anybody else feel the constant desire to be entertained? Just me? Me too. Oh, thank God. Her too. According to Oxford Languages, entertainment is the action of providing or being provided with amusement or enjoyment. Amusement and enjoyment can be reduced to a dopamine hit. Dopamine is the feel-good hormone. It has a great deal in controlling your mood, and it's also responsible for feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. So watching a video of a puppy eating a bunch of peanut butter that gets stuck to the roof of its mouth can give you a dopamine hit. You get what I'm saying. Okay. Now, these days, while screen time is increasing, like time spent watching YouTube, TikTok, Netflix, so on and so forth, attention span is decreasing. Now you might be saying, Ashara, you were talking about videos as a pacifier when really you're just talking about entertainment. What's the difference between being entertained and being pacified? Great question. I'll tell you. My opinion, at least. The difference between being entertained and being pacified is the presence, when it's everywhere. And it is everywhere. It seems like so many people, myself included, can't really do anything without feeling a desire to be entertained. Whether this is taking a number 2 in the bathroom or eating dinner. I mean, hello, iPad kids. I've also seen people walking on the treadmill at the gym, like while scrolling through TikToks. And it's not uncommon to think in TikTok sounds or references, or make references to TV shows and movies in the middle of conversation. Like, how often have you busted out side eye, bombastic side eye? That's a sound. Maybe that's a sound.
bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
It seems like entertainment has become a form of long-term escapism, like an avoidance tactic, if you will. So escapism can be defined as the tendency to seek distraction and relief from unpleasant realities, especially by seeking entertainment or engaging in fantasy. Now that's Oxford Languages for you. I would argue that a lot of adults, by engaging with media 24/7, are actively choosing a state of passivity to escape our reality. But I would also argue that these same adults are being lulled into a state of passivity by cheap engagement tricks meant for capitalistic gain. Bear with me on this. Theodor Adorno and Max Horkheimer are two social theorists that wrote The Culture Industry, Enlightenment as Mass Deception within Dialectic of Enlightenment in 1947. It has a couple of central points that I think are very important to highlight. Popular culture in a capitalist society is a factory that produces standardized cultural goods that are then used to manipulate the masses into passivity. Sound familiar? You didn't think I could talk about mass media without talking about capitalism, did you? Did you? Did you? Mass communications media is meant to keep you from revolting against your economic condition. Number 3, mass culture is much more dangerous than high art, which they deemed as much more intellectually difficult. But primarily, they posited something called the culture industry. So it's this industrialized culture that's formulaic, and it does the thinking of the masses. And the main goal of it is to ensure the obedience of the masses to market interests. I'm just jumping in here really quickly to expand on this definition and to make it a bit more comprehensive. So what is meant by the culture industry is the standardization of cultural items, for example, television and film, that secure economic interest and prevents people from individual thinking. So this isn't to be confused with mass culture, which Adorno credits as something that is actually produced by the masses themselves. Okay. Based on their beliefs, mass production leads to the homogenization of media. That's why there's a Real Housewives for every city and an NCIS for every city and so on and so forth. Even shows that aren't the same franchise have the same format, like formulaic doctor shows or crime shows. It's pretty much the same thing. And if you look at the algorithm for, let's say, TikTok or Instagram, there's definitely a formula for it. Videos that have the same sounds and same messaging get pushed to the forefront, so we end up seeing copies of the same exact video over and over and over and over and over again, right? It's repetitive. So Adorno and Horkheimer were right about that. Okay, what is going on in the world right now? Let's contextualize. We've got high inflation and low wages, which has left us with a cost of living crisis. We've got conflicts going on worldwide, and some that have been getting a lot of media attention are Palestine and Congo. Affordable healthcare really isn't all that affordable, and depression is also on the rise. Politics is seemingly the most divisive it has ever been. Police brutality, racism, gender wars warring, Karen's Karening, the list goes on and on and on and on. It seems like we're slowly being ground into a pulp. But meanwhile, all in the background, video is booming. It is booming. Because we are in search of an escape from our reality.
But how does this all relate to Adorno and Horkheimer and capitalism, right?
It's this idea that you exert your energy for your corporation and you make money for your corporation. Then you go back home after you've exerted all of your energy for the day and you're tired and you just want a little bit of a reprieve. So you turn on the TV and you sit down and you get dopamine hit after dopamine hit and you're slowly lulled into a trance. And you find a bit of solace in all of the madness and you get just enough rest that you're able to go to sleep and wake up and do the whole thing over the next day. And the cycle repeats on and on until you retire or until you die, whichever one comes first. But ultimately, you never rebel against your condition. Why? Because the escape that you are turning to at the end of the day is meant for you to never change your reality, to get lost in the sauce. Do y'all see what I'm saying? I hope you do. I hope you do. Bear with me. Because if you spend the majority of your time scrolling or watching, what is slipping through the cracks? What are you not seeing and what are you not doing? I think it could be argued that we are pacified to the point of no other emotion, right? We're pacified to this point of contentment that turns into complacency. But what would happen if you were to feel angry or sad or upset? What would you do? What could get done?
But it's art. How can art be a pacifier?
The flip side that I've often heard is that it's maybe dangerous to lump in short form videos like TikToks and Reels into the all video based media category, including, television and film, because the latter of which are art. They can evoke feelings of understanding and inspire change. They're art, silly. True, but what about the majority of TV and film? The majority is what Adorno and Horkheimer are talking about, and they're what I'm talking about. Is it really all art? Because to me, a lot of it just seems like content. Like, do we really need another action movie about the wronged hero who has such a sad, heartbreaking origin story, but somehow he's the chosen one who will defeat the ultimate evil and save the world? No, we've seen that before. It's repetitive. It's important to question if content can be art. I would argue that art can be content, but not all content can be art. What's the difference? Content is easily consumed, digested, and expelled, versus art is something that you sit with and it permeates. So when does art lose the quality of being art? When it becomes solely the vehicle of generating money, because that's just capitalism. And that seems to be where we are right now. The majority of media, at least to me, seems to be a cash grab. That's why there's so many spin-offs and remakes and live actions of this and that. Side note regarding capitalism, it is okay to critique a system while also participating in it. How else would we live? Now, the argument can be made that it is up to you, the individual, to notice when they are being pacified. No one is forcing you to engage with all of this media. You're doing it to yourself. And I somewhat agree with this. For example, no one is forcing me to watch every single episode of Love is Blind and then go onto YouTube to watch other people react to it and break down each episode, and then also get on Reels and read the comments about what people are saying. No one's forcing me to do that. But I would argue that there is a lulling that is not exactly conscious, and it sucks people in. I think a lot of us have had the experience of getting onto TikTok and saying you're only gonna be there for 10 minutes, and then you blink and it's 2 hours later. You got sucked in. You didn't do it on purpose. You got sucked in. It's not your fault. You're a victim. So this is where I want to posit the concept of being media drowned. It's this idea that we're being inundated with an overwhelming amount of entertainment through media outlets, so much so that there's very little room for reprieve or escape. Now, I am not advocating that we throw away or do away with entirely video media. This video is a form of video-based media. That'd be silly. I think there are notable good sides to it. We can educate, we can bring people together, offer a sense of community, etc., etc. What I'm advocating for is to not let yourself get swept up into the current of media that you're so far into the ocean that you can't even see land. This is something that I have been thinking about for a minute. I've been ruminating on it. So if you have something you want to say about it, please let me know, because I would love to chat about it. That's basically all I have. Okay, well, I don't want to make this whole goodbye awkward by dragging it out. Much love always. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.